Okay. Good evening, councillors, officers, members of the public and press. Welcome to this meeting of the council. This meeting is being live streamed on the website and recorded. I will now hand over to the council's chief executive.
Thank you and good evening, everyone. I will now run through some of the new working practices and etiquette for remote virtual meetings. Firstly, I would like to remind members of the virtual meeting protocol, which has been circulated to all members prior to the meeting. Members are reminded to remain on mute until requested through the chair or myself to speak, which will eliminate background noises and any unintentional disturbances. When called to speak, please remember to unmute yourselves, and members are reminded of council procedure rules in respect of speaking once during debate and also the length of speeches. We will begin the meeting by way of a roll call of all those in attendance remotely, and may I request members to confirm that they have a paper copy of the agenda and can both hear and see councillors in the meeting. I will now hand over to Democratic Services to begin the roll call.
Thank you. Could I begin the roll call with Councillor Christopher Akers-Belcher?
Yes, I am here. I have a copy of the papers and I can both see and hear the other members.
Thank you. Councillor Stephen Akers-Belcher?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Black?
Yes, I am here and I have a copy of the papers in front of me.
Thank you. I have apologies from Councillor Brewer, so I'll move on to Councillor Brown.
Yes to everything.
Thank you. Councillor Buchan?
Yes to everything.
Thank you. And Councillor Cartwright?
Yep, yes to everything.
Councillor Cassidy?
Yes to everything.
And Councillor Fleming?
Yes to everything.
Councillor Hall?
I'm here and I've got the papers.
Thank you. Councillor Hamilton?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Councillor Harrison?
Yes, I'm here and I've got the papers.
Councillor Howson?
I'm here and I have the papers.
And I've got apologies from Councillor Hunter, so I'll move to Councillor James.
Yes, I'm here and I have the papers.
Thank you. Councillor King?
Yes, I'm here and I've got the papers.
And Councillor Lauderdale?
Yes, I'm here. I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Thank you, Councillor Lauderdale. Councillor Lindridge?
Yes, I'm here and I've got the papers. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Little?
Yes, I'm here and I've got the papers.
Thank you. And Councillor Loynes?
Yes, I'm obviously here and I have the papers.
Thank you. Councillor Marshall?
Yes, I'm here and got the papers.
Thank you. Councillor Moore?
I'm here and have all the papers.
Councillor Prince?
I'm here and I have the papers.
Thank you. Councillor Tony Richardson? Is that Councillor Tony Richardson? I'll come back to Tony and I'll move on to Councillor Carl Richardson. Councillor Carl Richardson.
Councillor Carl Richardson, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah.
I've got the papers.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
I'm here and I have all the papers.
Thank you. Councillor Stokel.
Yes, I'm here and I've got the papers.
Thank you. Councillor Tennant.
I'm here and I have all the papers.
Thank you. Councillor Thomas.
Yes, I'm here and I have the papers.
Thank you. Councillor Ward.
I'm here and I have the papers.
Thank you. And I have apologies from Councillor Young. That concludes the roll call, apart from Councillor Tony Richardson. Can I just give Councillor Tony Richardson a little shout there?
Councillor Tony Richardson, are you there? Councillor Tony Richardson, can you hear us? Councillor Tony Richardson? His bubble's on screen, but he's not answering. Councillor Tony Richardson, are you there?
Do you want to move on, Chair, and I'll perhaps try and contact Councillor Richardson?
Okay, thank you.
That concludes the roll call.
Okay, thank you. Apologies for absence. I have received notification of apologies from Councillor Brewer, Councillor Hunter and Councillor Young. Moving on to agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Members with any interests have been asked to declare in advance of the meeting, and Councillor Little has indicated she has a personal interest in agenda item 14. Have any other members got any interest to declare? No? Councillor Prince.
Thanks, Chair. I'm not sure if it's something to declare, but with the public question, my son goes to English Martyrs.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Thank you. On to the next item. There's no business required by statute to be done before any other business. Item 4, to approve the minutes of the last meetings of Council on the 20th of February, the 19th of March and the extraordinary meeting on the 10th of June as a correct record. Are there any questions under agenda item 5? I gather that's a no. Okay, thank you very much. I'll move on to now. There is nothing for item 6, 7 or 8. So can I ask the Chief Solicitor to present the report of the Constitution Committee, please? Over to Hayley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report sets out the recommendations of the Constitution Committee in response to the issues raised as part of the periodic review of the Constitution. It also contains recommendations in response to referrals from full council and elected members, which have also been considered by the committee. The issues and recommendations are set out within the tables attached to the report. One issue I must raise relates to an error within the proposed protocol for referral of public questions to a committee. The papers refer to a time period of 15 minutes for questions. However, the Constitution Committee's recommendation was that there should be no time limit for these questions. Members are therefore requested to consider the recommendations before them, however, noting that subject to Rule 22.2 of the Council Procedure Rules,
on your screen,
that any changes to the Council Procedure Rules will stand adjourned and without discussion to the next ordinary meeting of full Council. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions from members? No?
Sorry, my hand's up, but nobody's coming to me.
You're not on, Brenda.
Yes, I see it now. It's been blocked by a bubble, Paddy. Sorry.
No, that's okay, Brenda.
Okay.
I was trying not to break protocol, but it became urgent. Sorry about that.
Okay. What's gone behind there? What's behind?
Just a couple of things in the new writing. Bear with me. 9.5 scope of questions. One of the reasons given is if it is unreasonably excessive because of its length or its number of parts.
Sorry to interrupt, Councillor Brown. That rule relates to a council procedure rule, so needs to, in accordance with the rule just mentioned, 22.2, will have to stand adjourned without discussion until the next meeting of full council, where it can be discussed and debated there.
Okay, Hayley, does that go for everything within that section?
Yes, there are only certain. Yeah, anything that's Rule 9 is relates to a council procedure rule, so that needs to stand adjourned.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Brown. Anybody else would like to ask any questions of the Borough Solicitor? No? Moving to debate. Sorry, Councillor Moore? No. We'll move into debate then, please. Anybody want to start the debate off? Councillor Black. I do apologise, Councillor Black.
Not a problem, Madam Mayor. You know what I'm going to say, and I've said it for long enough, and just because it's my final council meeting tonight, I'm not going to let it lie. So I'm just disappointed that in our constitution, we still have not made the effort to rule out alcoholic beverages in the use of council monies.
Thank you, Councillor Black. I can assure you it's not a free for all. You should attend and you'd see people pay for their drink as well. So
Madam Mayor, if that's the case, why don't we just do it then? Why not prove to the public that we don't need, that we can improve things, and we can improve the relations that we've got by having it in the Constitution? If it's not the case, then why can't it be put in?
Can I pass it over to Hayley, please?
Pass it over to anyone you want.
I think all I'd say is this has been debated at Constitution Committee, and the recommendation of the committee is that there should be no change.
Okay.
Hence my problem.
Okay. Well, it won't be for much longer, will it, Councillor Black?
Well, yeah, it will be, because I'll still be a council taxpayer, Madam Mayor, and you'll still be using my money that I pay into the council, like you're using everybody's money who pays into the council, to pay for alcoholic beverages for the consumption of members and guests. So yes, it will still continue to be my problem.
Yeah. I think we should leave it there. It's been debated enough, Councillor Black, and we can't move on any further now. I've had notification from the First Solicitor and the Chief Executive, so matter closed.
Shameful, but never mind.
Okay, right. So if there's no more debate,
just
Councillor Moore.
Apologies for interrupting, Madam Mayor. We're just having an issue with one of the elected members who can't connect. If we could just have a short adjournment while we try to get him online.
Yep. Okay. Okay. We'll have a few minutes.
If we could just all mute our microphones.
Okay. course, we've given Councillor Tony Richardson, every opportunity to take part in this meeting. He's been invited to the Civic Centre and he declined the offer. So we've given him plenty of opportunity to get in touch with us. So I'm sorry, we're going to have to push on because, time pressing on. Right, I have a request from Councillor Shane Moore to speak. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Chair. If people can remember what we were discussing, we were looking at the Constitution Committee. First off, Chair, may I just thank members of the Constitution Committee for the last municipal year. I did give a few comments at the time, but chairing that committee in last year was refreshing, to be honest. The members were cross-party. I think everybody had more than enough opportunity to share all of their views, concerns and participate fully. We debated many of the subjects at length. All people who had put suggested changes to the Constitution were invited to take part within those meetings. And I'm pleased to see that the reports in front of us were unanimously agreed by cross-party committee. Other than that, Chair, if there was nobody else wanting to speak on it, like I say, I just again give my thanks to committee members for last year, and I hope we can continue working as non-partisan and productively in the coming year as well.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. I think Councillor Cartwright, you want to speak? Councillor Cartwright? Oh, sorry.
No, Chair, it wasn't my hands. Apologies.
Oh, sorry. Right.
It was
Okay.
Councillor Tennant.
Okay. Sorry, Councillor Tennant.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I was just like to go straight to move on to the next item on the agenda.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
We need a mover and a seconder for the recommendations in my report.
Yeah, we need a mover and a seconder for.
Apologies, Madam Mayor. Sorry. Yes, I meant to move and wait for a second. Yes.
Right. Can we have a seconder, please, from members?
I'll let somebody else.
Anybody seconder? Speak to me.
Yeah, hands up, Chair. Councillor Cartwright's happy to second it.
Oh, right. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Cartwright. Okay. Is there any dissent from members? No. Move to the vote. All right. Okay. Okay. Moving on to item 10. I'll hand over to the Armed Forces Champion, Councillor Lee Cartwright. Councillor Cartwright, you'd like to speak?
Thank you, Chair. As you know, I need to report what I do as an Armed Forces Champion to Council. So please bear with me. Here we go. So in 2012, Hartlepool Borough Council signed the North East Armed Forces Community Charter and established our own Armed Forces Community Covenant to encourage support of the Armed Forces community in our own town. Our Community Covenant went on to be refreshed and re-signed in 2019, as a part of which the position of Veterans Champion was created to support the activities of the Armed Forces Champion. We're required to report the progress annually in relation to the implementation of the Covenant and in accordance with the requirements. Details of progress, activity and achievements during 2019 to 2020 are outlined in my report attached to the agenda for today's meeting. This is Hartlepool's 5th annual report and my first as Hartlepool Borough Council's Armed Forces Champion. I can say that over the last 5 years, we've made great progress towards fulfilling our commitments to the Covenant, and details this year's activities and achievements are outlined in my report. These include the receipt of the Gold Award by the Ministry of Defence Employees Recognition Scheme, ongoing support for Hartlepool's Armed Forces Liaison Group, and it goes on from strength to strength, and active improvement and involvement in the Armed Forces events, including Armed Forces Day, Reservist Day, VJ Day and VE Day, and of course Remembrance Sunday. Extension of the Get Hartlepool Active card concession to Hartlepool's residents and their families, who currently serve in veterans and reservists. Again, Hartlepool's Borough Council is the first Tees Valley local authority to offer these concessions. Expansion of the Reserve Forces policy, including 10 days paid leave, and a commitment to support our reservists through potential deployments and as a part of the COVID-19 response. Identification of a member of the housing team actively volunteering with the Royal British Legion, speeding up access to help and provision of the Royal British Legion briefing for staff in key frontline service areas. Provision of mental health support services via Veterans Weekly Mental Health Group and Council's Drug and Alcohol Support Team. Most recently including our first placement, jointly funded by the Council and the Royal British Legion at Tom Harrison House, the only veteran substance misuse trauma-related treatment centre in the country. Promotion of the veterans-friendly GP accreditation scheme with Hartlepool's GPs throughout the GP Federation. As you can see, a considerable amount of work continues to be done within the financial and staffing resources available to us. And I would like to thank all those involved across the local authority and our partners for their help delivering on our achievements so far. In going forward into 2020-2021, we remain committed to supporting our armed forces personnel and their families. And we will continue to explore possible opportunities to better identify services with personnel and their needs, represent our armed forces community needs and the local region, and of course on a national basis, and develop and work our relationships with Hartlepool Armed Forces Associations and the town's 883 Postal and Courier Squadron, and of course the Rifles Detachment within our local TA unit. I would like to thank you for your time, and would like to commend my report to full council. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We can note the report, members, and note Councillor Cartwright's presentation. Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor Cartwright. Councillor James, I believe you want to speak. Councillor James.
Hello. Thank
Hello,
you,
Councillor
Chair.
James.
Hello.
Hello.
I just wanted to ask Councillor Cartwright really if he could clarify for me, because he mentioned GPs in the list of activities, and I am aware that there is a requirement in the covenant that at least one GP in a locality should be designated to deal with sometimes the very particular needs of those that have been in our armed forces or are still in our armed forces. Now, Lee actually mentioned GPs, but he didn't actually say which practice, because I'm not aware that any of them are actually the designated practice. So could Lee either correct that, and if so, tell me which practice does carry out that role, or are we still in the process of actually acquiring that from one of our local GPs?
Yeah, so just to reiterate that point, so promotion of veterans-friendly GPs accreditation scheme within Hartlepool GPs and through the GP Federation scheme. So that's a point I read out, and in particular, the GPs, we're promoting it to the GPs, and we're waiting on GPs coming forward and rubber stamping that. Once the GPs come forward, we'll put that on our Hartlepool webpage and publish it for all the public to see. Does that help?
Councillor James.
Can I come back, Chair? Yeah, I mean, I understand that, Lee, and I thought that we didn't actually have a designated GP. And to be fair, that's quite disappointing after 5 years of attempting to get that in place. So I would really like to see that action taken during this next 12 months, that we ensure that we have a designated GP practice in Hartlepool that picks up this football and runs with it.
Thank you, Councillor James. Councillor Cartwright, do you want to come back on that?
Yeah, Chair, thank you very much. Obviously, we can't force GPs to enrol to this scheme. We can only promote it. So absolutely, we will promote it and we'll push a bit harder. And of course, when we've got a GP or several GPs who wish to come forward, we'll publish them, as I previously mentioned. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Prince, I believe you want to say something.
Thanks,
Councillor
Chair.
Prince? Yep.
Lee, I might be able to give you a hand on this. I'll speak to you this week. I think I've got a suggestion for you.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that, Amy. Thank you.
No worries.
Very good. Thank you very much, Councillor Prince. Right, if everybody's happy with that, the note report and the presentation, thank you very much, Councillor Cartwright. We'll move on now to, there's no reports under item 11, therefore we'll go on to consider motions received on notice and hand over to Councillor Amy Prince. Councillor Prince.
Thank you, Chair. As you've all probably seen, the motion's a little bit long. Does anybody actually want me to read it out? Or is everybody okay to accept it as read? I love you, John.
Take it as read.
We'll take it as read, I think, if everybody's in agreement. Is everybody in?
No, I'd like you to read it out, please.
Who's that?
I'd second that, James.
He's only winding you up. It's not meant.
I actually do have
a vote.
I actually have a letter in support of it from one of our lovely residents from Hartlepool who is 9. If it's okay with everybody, I would like to read that instead of reading the motion. I'm sure that you've looked at it.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm sure that this letter will be much more interesting to you all. So this is from Olivia Rose Edmonds, and she's 9 years old. She's part of Extinction Rebellion, and she's written this to help get climate justice, to save the earth and to help save future generations. So far, the government have not took climate change seriously, and it's a big threat to everybody. The effects are rising sea levels, drought, hot weather, animal extinction and melting ice caps. But there is a solution to fixing it by reducing your carbon emissions. I am asking for your help to fix it, so please listen. Our demands are: tell the truth and act it as if it is real. Act now and have a citizens' assembly. Next, I'm going to talk about Extinction Rebellion. We are a peaceful group who have had small to big protests like the ones in London. They are really fun to go to. The person who started the climate strikes was Greta Thunberg, who lives in Sweden. She also started Fridays for Future and likes riding a bike instead of using a car. When we use non-renewable energy, we burn it, which releases carbon dioxide and then speeds up climate change. But when we use renewable energy, it is good for the environment. When the weather gets really hot, the ice caps melt, causing the sea to rise and polar animals to have no home, and I love them. Theresa May declared a climate emergency, but it's words, not actions. Instead of not building more coal mines, they build more and more. They reopen airports on Teesside and also HS2 chopping down trees. So please choose the right way and help to fix climate change. The end, from Olivia Rose Edmonds, age 9 in Hartlepool.
Thank you, Councillor Prince.
Yeah, so.
Okay. Would anybody like to comment, or Councillor Shane Moore? And is there a seconder for the proposal? Councillor Karen King? Who was that? Councillor Lisa Smith, was that?
Lisa Smith.
Okay, you've seconded it. Thank you, Lisa. Councillor King, your hand's up. Oh,
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, Councillor King, it was Councillor Moore first. I do apologise.
No problem.
I'll come back to you.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you to Olivia for writing that lovely letter. Like Olivia, I believe in actions and not just words. And I think that's why I fully agree with the intent behind the motion. And I'm sure we all share the desire for Hartlepool and the wider area to play our part in tackling the effects of climate change. However, I don't feel that a generic climate change motion that refers to working at the district and county level is appropriate for a smaller unitary authority like Hartlepool. Moving on from a letter that I received from Councillor Brown more recently about working collectively and constructively, I therefore invite those councillors who signed this motion and all others to engage in a meaningful, collaborative approach to this issue, which I hope will allow us to put together a policy document that sets achievable, realistic and well thought out approach for this council to work towards moving forward. Madam Mayor, I would therefore request that we send this motion to Finance and Policy under Procedural Rule 11.5, where individual policy chairs may wish to consider how each of their committee areas can feed into that full strategy that we can all collectively shape and bring back before council so we can all agree on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. I think we need a seconder for that. Have we got a seconder? Councillor Tennant, you want to second it? Okay.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to second it, yeah.
To go to Finance and Policy.
Indeed, yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's what we'll do then. Send it to Finance and Policy. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Prince. I've got Councillor Paddy Brown. Did you want to come in there before we move on?
Oh, sorry, Chair. It was just to second the motion for Amy Prince.
Right. Okay. And Councillor King, you wanted to speak.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say that I disagree that there's a climate emergency, and I think any money that the council spends on this will be a waste of money, because actually there are countries like China, India and America who have a huge carbon footprint, and so any changes we make to the council's footprint are not going to have any impact on the planet, and therefore I'm totally against this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor King. Sorry. Yeah, Councillor James, I think you're next. Councillor James.
Right. Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to make a comment. I have no problem with it being referred to Finance and Policy, and I think that that's possibly a good route to take. But I just want to flag up a concern that I do have, and that we need to pick up and lobby government over, which is the fact that when new housing is being built, and at the moment it's being built all over the country, and very much so in Hartlepool, then we need to ensure that as part of those new builds, we're putting in the infrastructure to allow electrical vehicles to be actually supported, because for the public purse to end up having to pay at a later date to actually restructure everything locally is absolutely going to cost us more and more. So it would be far cheaper and more efficient to put it in at the beginning. So government really needs to change the planning guidelines so that planning committees can deal with it.
Thank you, Councillor James. I'm sure this will be debated in Finance and Policy as well. Okay. Councillor Hall, you wanted to come in, Councillor Hall?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was quite disappointed about this motion because all Labour members had signed it. I think all councillors should be engaged with climate change and whatever, and I think there should be other members on the motion.
Yeah.
In the midst of unparalleled times, there's green shoots in the coronavirus epidemic at the moment. I would concentrate on transport issues at the moment. I mean, one of them are electric cars. I think gas guzzling cars should be abolished. I'm amazed that the larger and opaque windows cars should be ranked as status symbols. That's a moot point. On walking and cycling, in lockdown, I found a lot of comfort in Burn Valley Woods and the Burn Valley Gardens. You can lost in Burn Valley Woods here, and I recommend that area to walking. I think one of the residents approached me about cycle lanes in Burn Valley Ward. And the amusing anecdote, 10 years ago, late Councillor Ray Waller, mentioned there was always in the town was cycle lanes on the pavement because there were very few cyclists on the road. It's quite an interesting point. And I think that walking and again with excellent villages in Hartlepool, particularly Elwick and Hart and even Greetham, Dalton, PSC, etc. I had my walk on 26th of May on the last bank holiday. So air travel. I mentioned in one of the papers about several million flights from UK to Spain. I'm at a loss to mention the number of journeys to Spain. I went to Spain in 1997. I was there at the time when Princess Di died in Barcelona, and that was sightseeing rather than beaches. But I'm at a loss to get to beaches in Spain, around the area of Spain. If they gave me a choice for a holiday, I would say 14 days in Salou in Spain and 1 day in St. Carew. I would say I'd take the holiday in St. Carew and extend it into 14
Councillor
days.
Hall, you've got 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. So as a trade unionist, I have enormous sympathy with people who have lost their jobs during COVID-19. But we can manufacture and install careers for zero carbon futures, holidays in UK, installation of homes, private and public industries developed in their awareness.
Councillor Hall, I'm sorry, your time's up. Your 5 minutes is up now.
We can act.
Thank you. Thank you for your input. I'll go to Amy, Councillor Prince, and then that's the end. Okay. Councillor Prince, you want to add something to it?
Thanks, Chair. I really, really appreciate what Shane's saying, and I appreciate that the council needs to work in a unified manner to be practical about this. But part of the reason for the motion is quite a few of the councils up and down the country have passed this, declaring that they believe that there's a climate emergency, and so it's about joining the unity with other councils as well. To lobby the government together to say that a lot of councils up and down the country believe that the government need to act more quickly than they are on this matter. So I would urge us to pass it because of that reason, to join in with everybody else and act as a council on our own. That, you know, like you've just said, we work practically to see what we really can do in Hartlepool and work together on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Prince.
Yeah, sorry, if I could just if I could just come in there, Madam Mayor. We've had a proposal that the motion be referred to the Finance and Policy Committee, which, if seconded, the result of that referral is that you're neither accepting or rejecting the motion. It'll go to Finance and Policy to be debated and agreed upon, and then come back to full council. So. If there's no dissent, I would recommend that the motion just stand referred to Finance and Policy.
Okay. Okay. Is there any dissent from any members? No. Okay. We'll refer it to Finance and Policy for them to look at it. Okay. Thank you very much, members.
Sorry, Chair. I would call Amy Prince, Councillor Amy Prince's notification as dissent in my book.
You haven't got your hand up.
Well, you're not actually looking at the hands anyway, so hence why I just put it in.
I am actually looking at the hands up.
Well, okay. I'll put my hand up there. There we go.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Pass you over to Hayley.
Sorry, is there any dissent to the motion being referred to Finance and Policy Committee to be considered there and then reported back to full council? If there is, then we'll have to go to the vote.
Doesn't look like. Oh, Councillor Amy Prince. Vote. Councillor Prince.
Would we be able to pass? Sorry.
Are you dissenting to it?
Well, would we be able to pass it then? Send it to Finance and Policy? Is that an option?
No.
No, I think the proposal put forward by Councillor Moore is that it be referred and then would come back following consideration at Finance and Policy Committee.
Okay. Councillor Brenda Harrison, have I got your
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Harrison.
Yeah, thanks. Right, I'm confused now. I think that we should pass the motion or not, and then, as Amy has suggested, send it to Finance and Policy as an on-shoot from that. I wouldn't want it to get to Finance and Policy, and perhaps the intention is not to do this, but for it then get buried as a motion. So I would ask for the vote on the original motion to be done, and then perhaps Finance and Policy can take it up for a more scrutinised approach. Does that sound doable, Hayley?
Unfortunately, the procedure rules are that if it's moved and seconded that a motion be referred to a committee, then it should be referred without discussion and then come back to full council. And the effect of that, as I said, is that you're neither accepting or rejecting the motion at this point.
Okay, thank you. I've got a few hands up here, but is there anything to add to that? Councillor Carl Richardson.
Yes.
He's muted. You're muted, Councillor Richardson.
Right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
A number of other councils have passed this motion, and I would suggest that the motion is just a minimum. It's a general thing. And we're talking about bringing people together, and that's what we should be about. And I know one member has mentioned other countries, but why not? Why can't Britain take a lead in this instead of having to follow others? We should be taking the lead. We've got the position to do it. It doesn't necessarily mean a loss of jobs. In actual fact, there's loads of green jobs out there which we could use, and we should use this as a basis. And as I say, it's a general principle which has been passed by a number of authorities, and not just Labour authorities, but quite a number of authorities across the board. And I think that we should start taking a lead. Let Hartlepool take a lead, and let us show other people how it can be done.
Thank you, Councillor Carl Richardson. I think Shane, yes, Councillor Shane Moore, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It might be best to clarify the reason for sending it to Finance and Policy. And I appreciate a lot of the comments that have just been made and about us leading the way, but quite clearly we wouldn't be leading the way. We have before us presented a motion that's copy and pasted from a different website. It isn't appropriate for Hartlepool. It talks about us working with our district and county partners. We're not part of the district or county council system. We're a unitary authority. There are financial implications in there where it specifically refers to us pulling out of various getting our pension fund to pull out of various financial things. We can't make those type of decisions just on the fly at full council. What I'm saying is, let's look at this. I'm not saying we shouldn't do any of this, but I'm saying rather than just taking a copy and paste motion that every other council seems to be doing, let's look at Hartlepool's approach to it. Let's look at exactly what we can do, because we might be able to be more ambitious, and then therefore we will actually be leading the way. So all I'm asking for is that we take it to a committee. We all have the opportunity to have real good input into it. And if various other committees need to see how their policy area can feed into it, then so be it. But when it comes back, we can proudly say that we have all had some input. We've all shaped the policy that will move this town forward. And my hope would be that we would actually be leading the way. So I would strongly suggest that we take it to committee where we can all have a really good debate about this, and let's see exactly what we can do.
Thank you very much, Councillor Moore. Hayley, do you want to come back in there? There's nothing else. We've got a couple more people to speak, and then we'll revert.
Carl's already spoken, so
yeah, Carl, you've already spoken. Councillor Tennant, I believe you were. Councillor Tennant, you want to add something to it? Councillor Tennant.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I just wanted to I actually raised my hand before Shane came in there, but I absolutely reiterate everything Shane said. we're not saying that we'd reject the motion. We actually think there's a greater chance of everybody being able to have a say in different elements of the motion, and as to potentially be more ambitious. Not only that, we can actually tighten the language of it legally, because it doesn't actually mention us as a unitary authority. It mentions us as a district and county, which we're not. So it wouldn't actually stack up legally, generally speaking. So referring this to finance and policy would be the best approach. And I'd urge everybody to do that and get with it and just get on with the job of moving forward ambitiously.
Thank you very much, Councillor Tennant. We're going to move to the vote now. Yep. Okay.
So it stands referred.
Stands to refer to finance and policy.
We don't need to do a vote, do we? Would you do a vote on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay, so I'm sorry. So there's a proposal that the motion stands referred to Finance and Policy Committee, and we'll come back to debate at that point and consideration at that point. Councillor Christopher Akers-Belcher.
For.
Councillor Stephen Akers-Belcher.
For.
Councillor Black. Sorry, Councillor Black.
Oh, sorry, my mic was turned off.
Councillor Brown.
For.
Councillor Buchan.
For.
Councillor Cartwright.
For.
Councillor Cassidy.
For.
Councillor Fleming.
For.
Councillor Hall.
For.
Councillor Hamilton.
For.
Councillor Harrison.
For.
Councillor Howson.
For.
Councillor James.
For.
Councillor King.
For.
Councillor Lauderdale.
Councillor Lauderdale.
Councillor Lauderdale.
Can we come back to Councillor Lauderdale?
Yeah. Councillor Lindridge.
I'm abstaining because I've been putting my hand up for 10 minutes and nobody's taken any notice.
Never saw your hand come up, Councillor
Exactly
Lindridge.
like
Sorry
Councillor
about that.
James said, I don't think people are watching. I've been waving ducks about and everything and nobody's got back to me.
Right, sorry about
Shout
that.
next time.
Yeah, shout up next time. Okay.
Councillor Little.
For.
Councillor Loynes.
For.
Councillor Marshall. For. Councillor Moore.
For.
Councillor Prince.
For.
Councillor A. Richardson. Sorry. Councillor C. Richardson.
For.
Councillor Smith. Councillor Smith.
Councillor Smith.
For. Councillor Stokel.
For.
Councillor Tennant.
For.
Councillor Thomas.
For.
Councillor Ward.
For.
So the motion is supported.
I'm for as well. Have you got me this time?
Yeah, got you this time. Thank you, Councillor
Yeah.
Lauderdale.
Thank you,
Okay.
Councillor Lauderdale.
Thank you.
Okay, finally.
Thank you.
Okay.
So the motion is supported that this should be stand referred to Finance and Policy to come back for full debate.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Jill. We now move on to the Chief Executive's report. I'll hand over to Jill.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a few brief items in my report this evening. The first relates to the appointment of statutory officers. As members will be aware, following the appointment of Denise McGuckin as Managing Director and the Returning Officer for Elections, Council has also asked to appoint Denise McGuckin as the Council's Electoral Registration Officer. Are members happy to do that? Any dissent? No. Thank you. Moving on to information regarding the Director of Public Health. On June the 29th, Dr. Pat Reardon tendered her resignation from the role of Director of Public Health with immediate effect, and Craig Blundred, the Council's Deputy Director of Public Health, has assumed the statutory duties of the Council's Director of Public Health from this date. I'm therefore asking Council to approve the designation of Craig Blundred now as the Acting Director of Public Health on an interim basis, whilst we work with Public Health England to undertake a recruitment process, and this arrangement is supported by the Regional Director of Public Health. Are members in support of that proposal? Is there any dissent? Thank you. Item 3 relates to council meeting dates. Members will recall that at the extraordinary meeting of council, the dates for future meetings of full council were agreed for the remainder of the municipal year. However, at the request of the chair, full council is requested to approve the change of date of the October meeting from the 29th of October 2020 to the 22nd of October 2020. I'd also like to request that members consider changing the time of the meetings. Members will be aware that the internet system nationally is under some pressure, and the Constitution requires that ordinary meetings of full council commence at 7 o'clock in the evening, but it is anticipated that from 5 an earlier start would be helpful in terms of managing pressure on the system. So I'm also asking members to consider not just the change of that date from the 29th to the 22nd, but also to change the start time of the meeting to 5:30 rather than 7 o'clock.
I'll just listen to what I can do. I won't be able to vote on anything anyway.
Oh, hello, Councillor Richardson. We've got you. Oh, hello there. We've finally got you. You're here now, yeah. Okay. Councillor Cartwright, I believe you want to say something.
Yeah, just with the proposed time, I get that it needs to be earlier, but to get home from work in half an hour and get on the call is going to be impossible, I'm afraid. So 6 o'clock would help.
6 o'clock would not, yeah, that was 5:30 is just a suggestion, but 6 o'clock would be suitable as well. Yeah. So members are willing to agree a change of time to 6 o'clock rather than 7. Okay. Is there any dissent then from the change of date and the change of time? Good, thank you. I'd like to withdraw item 4. We're still awaiting some further details from the host authority in relation to that proposal. So moving to item 5, which relates to notice that I have received from Councillor Hunter that he has resigned from the Labour group and will therefore be an independent councillor. Members are asked to note that Councillor Hunter is appointed to the committees and outside bodies which are listed in item 5 of the report. And moving to item 6, which relates to appointments to committee, council is requested to note the following changes to committee appointments. Firstly, there was confirmation at the meeting that following the extraordinary meeting of council, confirmation was received that Councillor Stokel would replace Councillor T. Richardson on planning committee, and also that Councillor Hunter has resigned from the appointments panel and a replacement member is therefore sought, although I have, I think, now received information on that. I've received notification from the leader of the Labour group that the following Labour places will be now replacing Councillor Hunter on the following committees. For Finance and Policy Committee, Councillor Hunter will now be replaced by Councillor Brenda Harrison. Neighbourhood Services Committee by Councillor Helen Howson. And in terms of outside bodies, the Victoria and Jubilee Homes, the position will be taken by Councillor Amy Prince. Brenda Harrison has also replaced Councillor Hunter as the Deputy Group Leader of the Labour Group. I've also received information in relation to the appointments panel that Councillor Brenda Harrison will take up Councillor Hunter's place on the appointments panel. We've also had notification that the Labour seat on licensing committee will be taken by Councillor Carl Richardson. There is currently one vacancy in two vacancies in relation to the coalition seats on licensing, and I've received notification that one will be taken by Councillor Barbara Ward and the other remains vacant. You will notice members are asked to note those changes, which obviously will be circulated and put on the council website. In relation to the outside bodies that are remaining, which is the Teesmouth Field Centre, the Environmental Trust, the Pension Fund, the Pension Board, and the Durham, Darlington and Teesside STP Joint Scrutiny Committee and the Henry Smith Educational Trust, we still have vacancies on those outside bodies, and I'm seeking any nominations for those outside bodies listed in the papers. Are there any nominations in relation to those?
I've got a few hands up, Jill. I've got Councillor Paddy Brown. Councillor Brett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry, Jill, mine wasn't in relation to any nominations. I just wanted, from myself and on behalf of the Labour group, to thank Dave Hunter for all the hard work he's done throughout the town and on behalf of the Labour Party, and wish him all the best for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor James.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to raise a question really on the report in connection with the change of councillor on the Victoria and Jubilee homes. Now, the last time that there was any real information that came to council on this issue, it was made clear that in actual fact the members are not being invited to meetings. I'd be pleased to know whether that's changed.
It has changed, yes.
Right. Well, I believe that the council position on Victoria and Jubilee homes is that it's the 3 Burn Valley councillors, because obviously Jubilee and Victoria homes are actually in Burn Valley. So I don't believe that it would be right to disbar Councillor Hunter just because he's changed the colour of his jacket. He's still a Burn Valley councillor, and I say that as a Burn Valley resident.
Thank you, Councillor James.
Thank you, Councillor James. I'm just seeking clarification from Hayley Martin, the Chief Solicitor, on that matter.
Thank you. I'm just looking at the Constitution, and in terms of membership, it's not explicit within the Constitution. It just says it lists the members and the term of office. It's not specific as to the ward that they must come from, unless there's something within the terms of reference of the actual organisation. But I'd have to go and check that.
Could I make a comment?
2 seconds, John. We've got Councillor Lee Cartwright to speak first. And then I'll bring you in, Councillor Lauderdale. Okay. Councillor Cartwright.
Right, thanks. I was on mute just as well, really. So just an observation more than anything. I work quite closely with Councillor Dave Hunter on the Police and Crime Commissioners panel, and I believe that to be a Labour seat. I just kind of wanted to know if he was going to be replaced and if by whom. Thank you, Teacher.
That's a matter for the Labour group in relation to other appointments. I'm assuming that that remains as is, but I'll hand over to Councillor Brown to clarify that matter.
Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Given Dave's experience within that area, the Labour group are more than happy for Dave to continue with that role.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Councillor Lauderdale, I believe you wanted to speak.
Yes. The Victoria Jubilee homes, you don't have to be a councillor to be a councillor's representative. Represent the council on the Victoria Jubilee homes. But the point made about the 3 councillors for the Burn Valley ward be included is a legitimate one, because it is very much our constituency.
Thank you, Councillor Lauderdale. I have no more hands up. Jill.
I've just checked the constitution, and actually the membership of the Victorian Jubilee Homes, Councillor Prince is already a member of that outside body.
Because there's 4.
Yes, there is 4, that's correct.
So we just leave Dave on, it's status quo.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that. It would seem Councillor Prince is already on that outside body, and therefore Councillor Dave Hunter's position would stand unless there's a proposal to replace him from that with someone else. So Amy's got a hand up.
Yes, Amy. Councillor Prince, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, sorry. Thanks, Chair. I wasn't aware, like I've never been invited to one of these meetings previously. How would I go about making sure that I'm invited in future?
At the moment, meetings are not being held because of the, the problems that we have with meetings. But the Jed Hall and myself certainly have received the minutes of the meetings and the invitations of the most recent meetings.
Thank you, Councillor Lauderdale.
We'll make sure that the trustees are aware of your appointment to the board, Councillor Prince, and encourage them to make sure that you receive the appropriate papers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There have been no special urgency decisions taken during this period. Just before concluding my report, I'd just like to, this is my final report to full council as the council's chief executive prior to my retirement on the 6th of September. Oh, pardon me, sorry, there is one further item in relation to the Tees Valley Combined Authority. Sorry, it's just been brought to my attention. It wasn't in my report. We've received notification that Councillor James Black has confirmed he does not intend to continue on the Combined Authority Overview and Scrutiny Committee, and we need a replacement independent member with a substitute for that member. Are there any nominations in relation to the Combined Authorities Overview and Scrutiny Committee from the independent members?
Councillor Tennant, your hand's up. Councillor Tennant.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I'd like to express an interest in that position.
Thank you. Councillor James.
It's fine, Chair. I was actually going to move Councillor Dave Hunter, but I'm quite happy for John Tennant to take that position.
Thank you.
We need do we need a name substitute? We would need a substitute for that member as well.
Councillor Cartwright, do you want to come in?
Happy to be a name substitute, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We've got
Councillor Cartwright to be substitute. Yep, Councillor Paddy Brown.
Thank you, Madam. Not sure if this is appropriate, but just to tidy this up, can we put Councillor Brenda Harrison down as substitute for myself on that?
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Councillor Marjorie James. Councillor James?
I'm not indicating, Chair. It was previously.
Oh, your hand's still up then. Can you remove your hand? Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Right. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank members for giving me the opportunity to serve as the Chief Executive of Hartlepool Council 5 years ago. It's been an extraordinary privilege. and a great honour. Hartlepool is pretty unique and a really quite remarkable place, and I've worked with some really remarkable people during my time, both in relation to members and officers. I think we've achieved some amazing things over the last 5 years, and despite the huge challenges that Hartlepool will face going forward, I'm absolutely convinced that by working together, Hartlepool will blaze a way forward for the town and for the borough. I don't really think I need to say much more other than just to say it's great. I'm deeply grateful for the support that I've had from officers and from members. I will miss you all, but I do promise that I won't be tuning in to the council meetings on YouTube in the future. I'll resist that temptation. But thank you all for everything that you've done. There isn't anybody that I've met in Hartlepool and in Hartlepool Council who doesn't have the best interests of the residents of the town at heart. So thank you and goodbye.
Thank you very much, Jill. Okay, thank you. Moving on to agenda item 14, we have one public question has been received, which has been circulated to members. I'll hand over to the Chief Executive, who will read out the question now. Jill.
We have a question, just one question from Anna Martindale, which reads, what does the council intend to do regarding school transport for children living in Seaton Carew attending English Martyrs School to ensure they are not discriminated against so that they can get to and return from school safely? I think the response to this question will be from the Chair of Finance and Policy Committee, Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes.
Councillor Moore.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was asked to give a response to this since the issue clearly crosses a number of policy areas and also is a town-wide issue. It's probably helpful just to give it a little bit of back story, just so everybody is aware. But the council has a duty to provide free home-to-school travel assistance to students who are eligible under the Education Act 1996 and the Education Inspection Act of 2006. The Education Act provides a statutory obligation to local authorities to provide home-to-school travel assistance free of charge for all eligible students of compulsory school age. Residents in their area, and the categories for eligibility are defined as those who live over the statutory walking distance from the nearest suitable school, which is 2 miles for primary students and 3 miles for secondary students. Those who are attending the nearest suitable school and they cannot reasonably be expected to walk there because of the nature of the route would be unsafe for them to do so, and there is no reasonable alternative route within the statutory walking distance. Extended rights, those eligible for free school meals or a parent with whom they live is receiving the maximum working tax credits and they live more than 2 miles from one of their 3 nearest schools or are attending a school that is between 2 and 15 miles from their home that their parents have chosen on the grounds of religion or belief. Or a student is attending a school to meet their special educational needs, disability or mobility problem. Therefore, the council has no legal obligation to make arrangements to transport non-entitled children to school, and home-to-school transport is arranged only for entitled pupils. Historically, when we've had any spare seats on buses, we have, for a fee, made these available to students who are not eligible for assistance, and this is called concessionary travel permit. Unfortunately, at the present time, we're uncertain as to whether there will be an opportunity to offer concessionary travel for the next academic year, commencing September 2020, due to the following reasons. Social distancing. It is difficult for us to predict what, if any, social distancing measures may be in place by September. And although the draft guidance suggests that social distancing on school transport may not be required, it does advise existing bubble networks should be maintained where possible. This would have major implications based on the size of the council's bus fleet. Low income entitlement. Students from low income families who receive free school meals are eligible for travel assistance if they live more than 2 miles from the nearest suitable school. With the impact of the current pandemic, there has been a significant increase in the number of families who've become unemployed and will meet the low income eligibility criteria. Therefore, it's likely to mean that an increase in those being eligible for travel assistance and reduce or indeed eliminate any spare capacity. Public service vehicle accessibility regulations. In January 2020, the PSVAR came into force and meant that where a fare was being charged for travel, and there were more than 22 seated passengers, the vehicle would need to be accessible, meaning it complies with the wheelchair accessibility requirements, as well as more general accessibility requirements, including, among other specifications, for seats, steps, floors, gangways and handrails. At the time, not all of the vehicles being utilised for home to school transport were accessible, so the council allowed those accessing under the concessionary travel permit to travel for free of charge from January to July this year. In order to become fully compliant from September 2020, the council purchased 2 replacement vehicles that would be converted and be delivered in August. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, the company carrying out the conversion had to go into lockdown, and this meant that we're unlikely to take delivery of these vehicles before the start of the new school term in September. And therefore we'll be unable to sell seats to those vehicles until those vehicles are available. Furthermore, the changes to these regulations have been challenged by councils nationally due to the impact on provision of concessionary places on home to school transport. However, the Department for Transport has not rescinded these regulations, and unfortunately this means the council must comply. Unfortunately, concessionary seats are not always available, and therefore they're not guaranteed and may be removed if an eligible child makes an application. This message is always being communicated to both parents and schools alike, which is why some schools have taken the decision to provide transport for their pupils, with the costs being met by the school. Whilst English Martyrs has chosen not to do this, the council will continue to monitor the situation over the coming weeks and months, and we'll work closely with English Martyrs to look at alternative options. Should any of the issues change, we will write to parents and advise them that there is an opportunity to purchase a concessionary travel permit at the earliest opportunity. And in the meantime, we'll continue to explore options with the school. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Councillor Paddy Brown. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Shane, for that. Shane, while I sort of accept that the council has no legal obligation to do this, I think not just the council, but every councillor here tonight has a moral obligation to try and get our school children to and from school as safe as possible. I appreciate the predicament you're in, but could I suggest that maybe it is looked at, and maybe this also goes through to finance and policy to see if we can come up with something that will work for all concerned. Thank you, Shane.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Councillor Marjorie James.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just remind members that we did discuss this at length over a number of years before we changed the policy about attending English Martyrs. And to be fair, if there is, going by what Paddy's just moved, if there is a decision taken to re-establish free transport for English Martyrs, then I would actually suggest that we would have to provide free transport for every child that doesn't go to their normal catchment school, and because otherwise we would be discriminating against the majority. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor James. Councillor Lisa Smith. Councillor Smith.
Hi, good evening.
Hello.
I'd just like to say that can we all be reminded that English Martyrs School is one of the only schools that does not pay for their child to get to school. Dyke House pays for their child to get to school. I believe St Hills pay for their children to get to school. Several other schools pay the bus to get them to school. It's not the council's responsibility. I just want to make everybody aware that out of a 55-seater bus, they are now only allowed 11 children on that bus. So how many buses and how much money are people saying that we should put into the pot to buy buses for this short-term commitment? There is plenty of other transport. They're going to pay for concessionary fares. The council shouldn't be responsible for covering that money to get every child to school. I'm chair of Children's Services and I believe every child does matter, but there needs to be a responsibility for the school to get the child to school.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Black. Councillor James Black.
Excuse me, sorry, Chair. Thank you for that. With regards to what Councillor James said earlier, the parents of children who go to English Matters, and it's specifically around the Seaton ward, is that they do pay, so it's not about giving away free transport. I've also been working with both the school and parents on this, and everyone is working together to find a solution. What I would ask the council to do, and I know it has been mentioned by Councillor Moore, is that the council work with the school, because the school are finding it very difficult to find a local supplier to provide what the council were doing before, or the suppliers that are coming forward. Costs are very prohibitive for parents, and we're talking 3 times the price of what the council was selling seats for. So I think it's in both camps' best interests that the council work with the school to maybe find a solution, and that will allow parents of children who use the bus service to continue to do that.
Thank you, Councillor Black. I've got Councillor Brenda Harrison.
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me? Yeah.
I can, yes.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. To come back on what Lisa said, I'd just point out that the cost for a school like English Martyrs to pay for their kids to go to school would be far more than any other school in the town, because they do take from the whole of the town rather than the, I know Dyke House, for example, takes from Seaton and the Headland, but I don't think there's another school in town that takes from the whole of the town. So the cost will be great. And following on from what James said, I think we do need to support those people who are finding it a struggle. And I think there's more people than are going to English Martyrs that are finding it a struggle to get their children to school, and will find it a bigger struggle in September. And the question itself, going back to that, doesn't actually mention any expenses. It's not to do with the council paying for the kids or the school paying for kids. It's just actually to have the physical transport to actually get them there safely and back again. So I would hope that we will be able to support all the children in the town to do that.
Thank you, Councillor Harrison. Councillor Lee Cartwright, I believe you want to speak.
Thank you, Chair. I think Councillor Brown proposed to go back to finance and policy to discuss this issue and to come up with solutions. I think that's quite a sensible suggestion, to take it back to a committee and try to help other schools in the town and not just English Martyrs. And if we are going to help all schools, I would quite happily second that proposal to take it back to finance and policy to help all schools in the town and not just one. So I'm happy to second that, Councillor Brown.
Okay, 2 seconds. Councillor Lisa Smith, I'll let you come back in quickly.
Hi, sorry. My response was to Councillor Brown, who was saying that we should, it's our responsible to get all children to school. It's not our responsible to get all children to school, which is the reason why I spoke about the monetary cost. I don't believe it should go to finance and policy, because then the council are then looking to pay more money to get children to school. So it should stay within the school and the transport department. Also, I believe that nobody has approached Stagecoach in relation to getting the English Martyrs School children from Seaton to school. So I do believe that's an avenue that would not be costly to the council to do.
Thank you. Right, okay, we're going to move on. Paddy, Councillor Brown's made a motion. I need a seconder, and I think Councillor Cartwright, you seconded it.
Yeah, just to be clear, Chair, I never mentioned any finance to echo what Councillor Smith says. I did echo the fact that we can take it to finance and policy to think of solutions, and I think that's a logical approach.
Okay, thank you very much.
A second on that basis. Thank
so
you,
you're seconded. Okay, thank you. So we're going to go to the vote now. Sorry, Councillor Shenmue.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick one. I'm more than happy for us to look at this at finance and policy. Can I just clarify though that obviously we have a finance and policy scheduled for early August. I'm just a little bit concerned that we might not, because of the obviously the bureaucracy that follows local government, we might not be able to get any kind of report or anything brought through, and in which case it might end up going to September, which would be too late. But I'm just mindful that obviously we will continue to work in the background anyway with officers and the schools and parents to make sure we can, and to see if we can try and come up with a solution beforehand, if that's all right with members.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Moore. We'll go to the vote, please.
Just for the sake of time, is there any dissent to the proposal that we continue to work on this in the meantime, but that it would anyway go to Finance and Policy Committee in August, at its next meeting in August? So if there's no dissent, then I propose that we accept that, and it stands referred to Finance and Policy, as well as further work will continue, and that we don't need to go to a named vote on that for the sake of efficiency this evening. Fine, that's fine. Okay. Okay. Right. Sorry. Oh, I thought you said, okay. There are any questions under item 15? Questions for the chairs about recent decisions of council committees and forums without notice under Council Procedure Rule 10.1. There are no questions under agenda items 15B and 15C, and at item 15D are the minutes of the meeting held by the Cleveland Fire Authority held on the 13th of December 2019 and the Cleveland Police and Crime Panel held on the 4th of February 2020. Any comments, anybody? Right, okay. Before we close the meeting, I'd like to thank who's got? Oh, sorry, Christopher. Yeah, I hadn't quite finished, Christopher. Sorry, Christopher Expelcher, you'd like to say something? Christopher, Councillor Expelcher.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to take the opportunity, just on the back of what Jill said earlier, and it was just for myself. I just wanted to put on record my sincere thanks for the huge contribution Jill has made in shaping every aspect of Hartlepool over her years in office. I've worked either as an officer or been an elected member in local government for 33 years, and I've worked with chief executives. I've seen, Jill is the fifth I've seen at Hartlepool Borough Council alone. But I have to say that the talent that Jill brought to that role, I have never seen that like before. And she has just this true moral purpose of doing certainly just what is the right thing to do for the people of Hartlepool. And I will always value the time I worked with Jill hand in glove as leader of Hartlepool Borough Council. And I will miss Jill enormously, and we haven't worked as closely over the last year for obvious reasons, but I will always hold Jill in the highest regard as the best chief executive I have ever worked with.
Thank you, Councillor Christopher Expelcher. I'll move on to Councillor Cartwright.
Excuse me, Chair. Point of order or whatever we say. obviously Christopher's mentioned that. I just wanted to go back to point 15A on the agenda, because I don't think you asked if anyone had any questions with regards to recent decisions of council committees and forums.
Well, nobody put the hand up, Councillor Black.
You didn't give anyone up the opportunity. You said that there was no questions under that point. So, you know.
Okay, well, can I go forward?
I'd just like that opportunity. Sorry, Councillor Cartwright and Councillor Smith. My apologies.
I'll go to Councillor Cartwright because we were in conversation then. Councillor Cartwright.
Thanks, Chair. Sorry, obviously to echo the sentiment and the great words of what Christopher just says there, reference to Jill, but my point in particular was to recognise, although I don't have a list of GP names in front of me, but is to recognise that, to Councillor James's point, Mackenzie Group practice in Kendall Road, Hartlepool has applied for the Veterans Friendly GP, and the North Tees and Hartlepool Foundation Trust has already been applied and been granted that. So I think it's only fair to recognise the GP who has applied to that, but sorry, I haven't got an extensive list. So I just felt that I should share that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lisa Smith.
Hi, I've just got 2 points that, two things that I would like to say. The first one, and I don't know whether it's the appropriate time in the meeting to be able to say them, so by all means, kick me to the curb if you need to. The first point I'd like to say is I'd just like to say I wish James Black, Councillor Black, all the best in his new role. As we've had a conversation off air previously, we all know that he does a good job within council. James was one of the people who approached me to become a councillor. For that, I'm still thinking about the appropriate revenge that I need to take on him at some point in his lifetime. There is no time frame of which I can't think about something. We don't usually see eye to eye, as you can probably see tonight as well. But on most matters, we do always agree that the residents of Seaton always come first. They were the people who voted us in, they're the people who we work for, and they're the people who we should serve. So I just want to wish him all the best in his future role in Stanley, and I know he'll put his heart and soul into it, as he does as a councillor for Seaton Ward. So I just think we all wish him the best. My second point is in regards to the Holiday Hunger Fund. I don't know if anybody knows what's going on this year, but during the 6 weeks holidays, as Chair of Children's Services, I decided that the funding should be spent solely on food and not on any other apparel that should go towards it. So I am putting together 370 food parcels on Saturday and Sunday in the Settle on Breaton Lane. I, as well as Sue, have been out shopping for thousands upon thousands of tinned goods and hand them from vans to
somebody's talking in the background and I don't know who it is. Lisa, I can't hear you for somebody talking.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry about that.
It's Leslie Hamilton.
No, it's fine. So yes, we've put a lot of work into it. The past 5 days has been pure hell. Sue's back will never forgive me. But my point I'm wanting to make is that I would really appreciate if anybody's got any time between the hours of 10 and 5 on Saturday and Sunday, would they please come and give us some time to put food parcels together? We're doing them for families with 1 child up to families of 7 children, and there is 370 parcels to put together. I've roped in every friend that I have and promised them food, drink, anything that would get them to come and help me, and I would really appreciate any councillors' help over the weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Okay, we'll go back to Councillor James Black. James, you wanted to raise a point. I do apologise.
No problem, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much for coming back to me. My point that I'd like to speak about is around the Finance and Policy meeting of the 20th of June. And it is the Business Grants Decision Record, point 6. if everyone's happy for me to continue on, this is mainly about a local business in Seaton Carew. It was brought to the attention of the papers the other day. It is the Marine Hotel. They have been told by Hartlepool Borough Council that they are not eligible for the discretionary grant funding. However, they have a hotel in Redcar, which has a higher rateable value than the one in Seaton Carew, and they have been, so even though they don't meet the criteria of the discretionary grant funding in Redcar, they've been given the money from Redcar Council because it's at the discretion of Redcar Council. Yet in Hartlepool, where they meet that criteria, they are being told they are not eligible for it. My question really around this is, why do we have disparity between local Tees Valley councils, and how many other businesses have been told that they're not eligible when actually if they were in a different Tees Valley local authority, they would be? This is government funding, not council funding, it's there to help local businesses. And I appreciate that we have helped a massive amount of local businesses, but I think we could have helped more. Maybe to Shane.
Shane's going to answer that if he can. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks, Councillor Black.
Thank you.
Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I can partially answer it, but basically we did actually run the same scheme as a number of our Tees Valley counterparts. Whilst I understand the frustration with this one, the discretionary fund, we had quite a few local businesses apply, and whilst I appreciate that the local business that Councillor Black mentioned may have been above the rateable value, and in which case it was, that was what the reason it didn't meet the criteria set. Now, it may be the case that in Redcar the fund was undersubscribed, but certainly in Hartlepool there were numerous applications made, and to my knowledge, if we'd have given the grant to a business that was over the rateable value, it would have meant that one of those businesses that met all of the criteria would have potentially have missed out.
Apologies, Shane, just to stop you.
No, I don't. No, you won't just stop me, Councillor Black. I allowed you to speak.
Please.
And then similarly, at what point do we stop? If we allow a business that has a rateable value of 54,000 to take the to get a grant, but we don't allow a business that has a rateable value of £60,000, we'll have the business that with a rateable value of £60,000 kicking off.
Shane,
as well.
the business had a rateable value of 51,000, which was the criteria. So they weren't
stated in the press of 54,000.
51,000. 51,000 was the criteria.
No, over the rateable value, which was the correct. So, as I say, thank you. The business has received a full breakdown of that, and we're more than happy to discuss that further with them. I don't believe this is the correct forum, because otherwise every business would just lobby their local councillor to come in and complain at full council, when there is the option there for us to enter meaningful dialogue with them and to see if there's anything else we can potentially do to assist them. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Miller. Okay, thank you. Councillor Sue Little.
It's a different subject. I'm not going to talk about the Marine Hotel. I would just like to congratulate Jill on a happy retirement. One of the best days that I've been on International Women's Day this year, when you opened the Hartlepool to Whitby Abbey, St Hills Walkway. I really was disappointed I never got on the boat, but when I seen the pictures from the boat, I was pleased that I never got on it, because it looked rather choppy. And then to my partner in crime, Mr. James Black. Me and James started a youth club last year, and it was really, really going well. And I just hope, James, now that you're retiring as a a councillor that you're not going to retire, you volunteered on a Thursday night when we can get back up and going. We had over 30 youths of secondary school going there, which is a massive, compared to other youth groups in the town. Like, it was a massive, what the youths used to come in and do with us. But hope to see you there once again when we can open up. Don't know when that's going to be, but I'll be ringing you to move those bookshelves. Right. Good luck to you both, and I'm going to miss you both. Thank you.
Good luck, James, Councillor James Black, on your leaving the authority and taking up a new post. Wish you all the best. Jill, what can I say? I said a lot last time because I thought that was your last one, and I was told it was your last one. But it's been an absolute pleasure to work with you over the last 5 years. I've been a councillor for nearly 9 years now, and you've definitely pulled out all the stops for Hartlepool. Not being a Hartlepool girl, but I am. I can't thank you enough, and I wish you very well. The same as Councillor Little. I did go on the St Hills Walkway. It was a wonderful day, and if it hadn't been for that day, I might not be here. And it was very choppy, that sea, and it was a nightmare getting on off the boat, believe me. But I do wish you all the best, Jill, and enjoy your retirement. It's fabulous. Thank you. Anybody else who'd like to say, Councillor Moore?
John would like to, but do the others first.
Okay, Councillor Lauderdale. Councillor Moore, you want to come in?
Yeah, just quickly, Chair. I know, like yourself, I said my words of thanks to Jill at the last council meeting because I hadn't appreciated. We just slotted in a couple of extra ones, so I won't repeat myself because I don't want to go through the embarrassment of getting upset on live stream again and getting called out by Leslie. But genuinely, Jill, thank you very much on behalf of myself and the rest of the coalition councillors. You've done a fantastic job and you've helped us all immensely. There'll be a number of us joining you on on your walk for the Way of St Hild for your leaving due. So we'll catch up then.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Councillor Lauderdale.
Yes, thank you very much. I've been around a long time and I've worked with a lot of chief executives, and I would like to say that Jill has been excellent to work with. Although I fully appreciate the busyness of the role, but she's always found time to be available on a one-to-one basis, and occasionally that is necessary for a councillor, and I've appreciated that. Thank you very much, Jill.
Thank you, Councillor Lauderdale. Councillor Brenda Harrison, got your hand up?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, just to add my hopes for a really good retirement, Jill. You certainly deserve it. And now I'm going to do what Shane did. But in actual fact, I think the fact that you stayed on when the pandemic hit is very much appreciated by us all, and you've led us through this really well. Your intellect, compassion, and integrity, openness and honesty are just second to none. So I've appreciated working with you and hope to keep in touch and see you at your walk. But I don't think I'll be walking, but I'll see you somewhere. Thank you very much, Jill, and all the best.
Thank you, Councillor Harrison. Councillor John Tennant.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Yeah, just very, very briefly, like Shane, I did mention at the last borough council that my thanks for Jill's great work for the borough. I'd also like to put on record my best wishes for Councillor Black as well. Most people know that Councillor Black and I don't always see eye to eye on many issues, but I do appreciate his work as a local resident and his work behind the scenes. So just like to wish him the very best of luck in his new venture. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Tennant. Councillor Black. Councillor James Black.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to say my congratulations once again to Jill on her retirement. It's as my dad always said, you'd be busier in retirement than you ever were in the council. However, make sure you have a couple of weeks break from doing anything and everything. From all my colleagues who've wished their well wishes to myself, thank you. To Sue. I will continue with the youth club. I will continue with my Beach Access Northeast. So I will still be a pain towards the council. And my only thing really is it's just a shame that today was slightly ruined by a local political group who decided to try and draw extra points. But never mind, we can all move on from that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Jill. Over to you. Can you speak?
It's that new language of lockdown. You're muted. Thank you so much for those wonderful comments, and all the very best from me, James, in your new role in Stanley. And thank you again thank you for the work that you've done whilst you've been a councillor. I might not be a Hartlepool lass, I'm a Shields lass, but something drew me to Hartlepool, and I was never quite sure how I ended up here or why. But I've had an incredible few years, and I have worked with some truly inspirational people during my time. Thank you, Christopher, for those words. I think we did good together over the time that we worked together. And Shane, thank you, working with you as a leader this year as we've gone through what I think have probably been the most challenging months in the whole of my 41-year career. You've been fantastic, and thank you for everything that you've done. In particular, I'd like to thank all the members. Sometimes I sit here and watch you in the chamber, and you have your debates, and you sometimes have pretty feisty debates, and probably feistiness as part of the character of Hartlepool. But I think the thing that drives you all fundamentally is a desire to shape a fantastic future for this borough, and I think that is something which can be achieved, but it can only be achieved by working together. I'd also like to place on record for the minutes my thanks to the senior leadership team of the council and the corporate management team. We made a number of young appointments, and one of the pleasures of being a chief executive is how you see people grow into the roles that they've taken on, and I'd like you to know that you have a fantastic team. I'm very confident in handing over the baton to that team, and I know that you will go on to deliver some of the huge and ambitious plans that we have for the town. As many of you know, I'm in ordained holy orders, and one of the things a priest does when they pray is that they spend time with God, with the people on their heart. And you need to know that you will always be on my heart as I go forward into retirement, because whilst I might not be a Hartlepool lass, I do feel like part of me now has a little bit of Hartlepool in me, and I will take that with me as I go forward and journey on. I do know that walking might not be everybody's thing, but if you want to meet with me for an ice cream or a coffee or something like that on the way, you don't have to move, you can stand still. But also we will be organising on hopefully trying to find a way of organising a small physically distanced breakfast in the chamber on the morning of Monday the 17th, I think. No, yes, 17th, which will fuel me with the energy that I will need to complete the 48 miles of the Way of St Hild. Hopefully that will be my Forrest Gump years out of the way when I complete that, but anybody who wants to join me in Whitby as well for lunch at the Abbey, I'd be delighted to see you. So thank you all again for giving me the honour of being the Chief Executive of Hartlepool Council. I don't think there can be anything greater than to have been in this position and to have taken on that mantle, so thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Jill. I've got Councillor Leslie Hamilton. Councillor Hamilton, you would like to come in?
Yes, I'd just like to say to Jill, I've obviously never been a friend of that mythical super being that you talk about. But in all sincerity, I really wish you the best and a long and happy retirement. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, if there's nobody else wants to say anything, no hands up, I'd like to end the meeting and thank you all very much for taking part. Sorry about the few hiccups that we've had, but we are getting better at it, I'm sure, and at shorter meetings as well. Okay, thank you very much and good night. Thank you, people.
Thank you. Bye.